Hello, how you doing? Shannon Jenkins with Dynamic Dads, coming to you again with another episode. And I have my guest Dion coming on. How you doing, Dion? We're gonna get set up right here with Facebook Live.
Hello.
Give me a second, Dion. We're gonna set up on Facebook Live. I got another guest who's gonna come on. I'm just setting up the Facebook page right now. Glad you're here. Josephine, that's three magnificent moms coming in right now. So once again, this is Dynamic Dads, positive in attitude, full of energy, and new ideas. So today we're gonna come in. I don't know. This title, I made this title up, not this young lady. I made this title up. So if you guys don't like it, that's on me. It's called Trouble in Paradise, but Peace in the Valley, Peace in the Desert. So I thought that might be, something that was kind of, once you hear this young lady's story, you might agree with me on that title. So I'm going to let her introduce herself, and then we'll get back into trauma in the house, but we also got peace in the paradise, peace in the desert. And Dion, can you say your first and last name and then give everybody a little bio about yourself?
Yeah, I'm Dion Pacheco, and I grew up on the island of Hawaii, and I'm super excited to talk about Trouble in Paradise.
And down here we have Miss Horace Josephine Jackson. Horace Josephine Jackson. Miss Josephine. She got her name. She got three names. I don't know which name to say first. Josephine Horace Jackson, or Jackson Horace Josephine, or JoJo, or Josie. But most of y'all gonna know her, and y'all gonna know her from throughout the world, nationwide, as Magnificent Mom.
Hello, everybody. Nice to meet you, Dion.
Nice to meet you.
So Dion's been telling me every time I ask her, can I have you on my podcast? I'm super excited. I'm ready to go. Let's talk. So she finally made it here today from Arizona. I'm in Mesa, Arizona. She's in, where you at, Glendale?
I'm in Chandler, Arizona.
In Chandler, Arizona. So in Chi-Town's in the house with Magnificent Moms. And so today we're just going to come on and talk about let's get everybody about the beauty side of Hawaii, the glamour side of Hawaii.
Well, there's a lot. I mean, Hawaii, I feel like, is an amazing place to be able to grow up at. They're really family oriented, and I mean, the beaches are amazing, and the beaches are amazing for so many things. Like, if you're feeling sick, you go to the beach. If you're feeling depressed, you go to the beach. Like, if you just need to feel refreshed, you go to the beach. Like, the ocean does a lot for us islanders. So
yeah, you have a great connection with the land.
Yes.
That's something that a lot of our people have lost, that connection with the land, with the earth, so to say, and getting our healing from the earth, from the properties of the earth. It's said that everything we need for healing is in the herbs. God has provided everything that we need for healing. And I'm going that way because a lot of people are going to find out a little bit about you later on, about who you really are. So I just want to lead you a little bit that way about talking about the herbs and things of that nature, and just the spiritual nature that you have inside of you. So I'll let we just get that in there a little bit so that people give you a little tidbit of this lady and what she's going to express who she is today. But if you can you give me a history about, talking about the trouble in the paradise, about you growing up in Hawaii? Just, what was that like growing up in Hawaii? That might, for a lot of people, say Hawaii, wow, I can't wait to get there. Like JoJo is supposed to go there and visit. I haven't been there yet. So give me a little history about, you growing up in Hawaii. What was that like?
Yeah, I feel like the number one question that I get is, why would you leave paradise to come to the desert? And I always tell everyone that Hawaii looks like paradise. But when you all up in those streets and you grow up there, then you you know what it's really like, and you lose that paradise. I feel like for tourists and for vacations, like it's definitely paradise. Even for me, not living there now, just going home to visit, it's always amazing. But when you live there, it's really, really difficult. So the thing like about the living off of the land and stuff, like when we were younger, education was never pushed on us, like to go graduate high school, to go to college. Like what was pushed on us was to learn how to take care of the house and to learn how to take care of the family and to learn how to take care of the men when they come home with that food that they just went fishing all day for or hunting all day for. So the number one, so it was hard, like trying to find your like goals and things like that. Like it's just not something that we ever were encouraged to have a vision, bigger goals, leaving the island. Like it was never really encouraged. So I grew up with parents who were addicts. So they were never really present, and because of that, we've experienced a lot of things, like sexual abuse, abandonment, domestic violence. Like there's 11. I have 11. Well, there's 11 of us all together. And it was like we grew up kind of just taking care of each other and raising each other because our parents were never present. So drugs were around from when I was little, but it just feels like over the years and as I got older, it's just more and more and more and more. And it's just really getting bad, like where people are killing each other over it. And in Hawaii, it's like it's big news when, I mean, there's not a lot of deaths over drugs and things like that. So it's starting to get um, really scary when that's all that's in the news is something that involves drugs. So growing up in this family and on this island where it's just flooded with drugs, it can be very difficult growing up. There's not a lot to do on the island. So I think that's why the kids are, we as kids end up getting in trouble because we're trying to find stuff to do.
Wait a minute, you said there's nothing to do. So there's two.
Well,
So there's two
besides,
Hawaii's then. So there's two Hawaii's. There's one for the tourists, and then there's the native side. So for the
oh,
natives,
definitely.
so for the natives, you see this beauty all day, every day. You grow up in and around the palm trees, the luxurious beaches, the nice weather. That becomes average for you. It's normal.
Right.
So it's just nothing exciting about it. Especially like I said, there's different islands that you live on. What island did you live on when you lived there? What
I grew up on the island of Oahu, but I would go to the Big Island, where my family is from, every summer for summer vacations. And then since I turned 18 years old, I lived on the Big Island.
So when you mentioned earlier about education was not important, was that because of the economics, or was that just because of the way that you guys lived off the land culturally, as far as generation to generation, education just wasn't something that you guys look forward to?
Yeah, I think my family for generations has just always encouraged independence, and school was never like gonna feed us in their minds. Like we needed to know how to take care of our land and take care of our family, and those were the things that would allow us to stand on our own 2 feet. Being able to go to the beach and get anything that we need to eat from the ocean, or same with the mountain, or the same just walking around the island and having all this fruit everywhere and everything. Like it's just independence. It was the number one thing. So not having to depend on anything or anyone but everything around you.
Well, I mean, I can't even imagine. I mean, when I was younger, my grandfather, I lived on a farm in Swedesboro, Monica Hill, New Jersey, and that's mostly a farmland. So there was always, like I said, vegetables around me. So I was out there very young age picking watermelons, string beans, cherries, plums, going to pick strawberries. I did all that, all that when I was younger. We used to go to the farm and pick all that stuff. So I can relate to that. But when we think about paradise, we think about Hawaii, man, we used to watch Hawaii 5-0 and how Dino would always catch somebody, Steve Garrett, they always running around Hawaii catching the bad guys, stuff like that. And nobody they glamorize Hawaii as being this place of luxury. But what you're showing us today is that socially, economically, they were not preparing you for life.
Right.
even though Hawaii is part of the states of America, they were not preparing you to be actually a part of the states.
True. Yeah.
The big picture is for you to get a job so that you can provide for your family, but y'all didn't worry about money. It seemed like, when you talk about money was not a big concern. Whereas in other neighborhoods, we want money. We got to have that money here in America, in the communities we live in, they want money.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yeah, that's true.
so how did you guys survive if money wasn't the number one option?
So the thing too about Hawaii is I think growing up, so I'm pure Puerto Rican. I grew up Hawaiian style or with that Hawaiian culture, not really with the Hispanic culture. So growing up Hawaiian style, you it's hard to explain. You I don't know, everything just seems normal. I'm sorry. As much as like going off of the land and I'm like the tourists and everything is the land is so beautiful and like provides for us and everything. We take advantage of the system a lot, meaning welfare, food stamps, Section 8 housing. I mean, in Hawaii, if you get Section 8 housing, like we're celebrating, like, OMG, I got Section 8, I'm set for life. Like, so we take advantage of a lot of the resources. So it's hard where growing up Hawaiian style, they do not want to be part American. They do not want to be American or part of the United States. But we're kind of quick to be like, hey, America, let me have this benefit and that benefit and this benefit. So that is one of the ways. And then how I grew up is my family has always owned their own business. And in Hawaii, it's kind of a thing to where like you don't go out and look for a job. You just find it like what is it that you're good at, and then see how you can make some money or a living off of that.
So you think that made you a stronger person by having that independence of being able
Oh,
to
I
be an
think
entrepreneur at an early age?
for sure, for sure. My childhood ended really quick, really quickly at the age of 13. I feel like when I left home, just because like domestic violence and sexual abuse, and like I said earlier, there was like no parents around, so I felt like I had to get myself out of that situation. So at 13 years old was the first time I left home, and at that point grew up on the streets. So yeah, I definitely lost my childhood at a very young age, had to grow up, but I definitely do feel like those things made me stronger. And when I moved to Arizona and like I pay my own rent and I don't need the system, like it's a big deal in my mind to be able to pay my own rent. Like it's a really
Yeah.
big deal, and it's a totally different feeling like having something like Section 8 pay your rent and then you paying your own rent.
So what do you say the percentage of people are that you saw that's on this Section 8? Because when we talk about Section 8, when here in America with Section 8, there was restrictions with that. So if the woman was to get Section 8 and she had kids, it was for her and the kids. And the man couldn't live there. If they came, inspector came in and found there was a man living in the house, she would lose her Section 8.
Oh.
Or those are the same restrictions they have in Hawaii, because that was basically to tear the family apart here in America.
Oh.
It was not
Yeah,
to bring
you
the
can
family
you
together.
can put anyone who's living in your household, you put them on. If they're living in your household and they're not on your Section 8, then you have risk losing your Section 8. But there are other things like if your spouse is a felon, then they can't be on your Section 8. Or if your spouse or you or even your kids, if your kids are on your Section 8 and your kids get a charge for something or anything like that, you're at risk for losing your Section 8. But man, I really, when you asked that, the number like maybe 85% came to mind. Like I haven't done the
Wow.
study or nothing, but I'm like, it's a really big deal.
Yeah, I think about that because I'm saying that because I'm thinking about, like I said, we're talking about the paradise of Hawaii. We know there's a lot of troubles going on with the racial division that's in Hawaii. The Japanese,
Right.
the Asians, and stuff like that. But I never really thought about how the racism amongst. I mean, there's so much diversity there, but there's still a lot of racism there. So have you experienced that?
Yes, I have to say, like, I don't know honestly if it could be described or if it is racism. I don't know. But I do know it doesn't matter what color of your skin. If you're just an outsider, it makes a big deal. If you're not from the island, you could be black, white, Asian, and you come to the island, you could kind of, I mean, it's might be a little bit difficult. And man, it's so hard to talk about race, but I'm gonna say that if you are white in Hawaii, it's really kind of difficult for you to work your way in. But if you show respect to the people, to the island, then they're really receptive and they will give you that respect right back.
What would you like? So you said you left home early, and I'm going to lead up to a lot of things. Let you really explain the great side of you living in Hawaii. But I want you. What would you say to a young person, maybe that 13-year-old, 15-year-old young lady or young man that was living in Hawaii or living now here in America that went through some of the things that you went through at an early age? Like you say, you lost your youth, your childhood at a very young age because you had to survive for yourself. So what would you tell that young person?
I think I would just encourage that young person to not be so bitter. I mean, I was angry at everybody, and that's how I showed up on the street. I was mad at my parents. I was mad at God. I was just mad at the world. Like, and I grew up like that, so it stood with me over 30 years. I'm just growing up this really angry person. So I
Right.
would just try to find a different perspective. Like, I know I'm like, maybe it's so easy for me to say now because I'm 40 years old, but if I never went through the things that I went through as a kid, like, I wouldn't be the parent that I am today. So I'm very grateful for those experiences. But that 13-year-old girl would not have said that.
Yeah, we talk about the traumatic experience that we all face in life, and like you said, you went through a lot of different things that strengthened you, but helped you understand, mature a lot faster than the average 13-year-old. But just living in Hawaii itself sounds like it was a lot of things that you had to become, mature faster, and that's what a
Right.
lot of kids from in the city had to do. That to mature faster because the lifestyle is not the same as those in the suburbs. And so they don't understand that we had to grow up a lot faster than the average 13-year-old that surround us. We might go to school with somebody like, I don't know what you're talking about. Exactly. You don't understand what we went through, you know? So your
Right.
kids don't have to go none of that. How many kids do you have, by the way?
I have 5 kids.
5. Wow. We just had another guy on that had 5 kids. I don't know what it is, Josephine, what is number 5? You on mute, Josephine. I can't hear nothing you're saying. You haven't even come on. You haven't even said anything to Deion since you got on there. What are you, tired?
Yes, I did. I did say hi to her. I said 5 is a number of grace.
Josephine, she must have been. This is our second session. We had a meeting earlier, so she must be tired because she loves to talk. So I don't know why she ain't talking to
I'm
you.
listening to Dion. Both of us can't talk at the same
I feel
time.
like she's saying a lot, actually.
Right. I'm listening to her and I'm looking at that background. I'm so intrigued by it. It's so pretty. So I'm waiting. I'm just waiting to her to get into the other stuff because I feel like she got a lot to say. So I'm just sitting here waiting. I'm waiting.
Yeah, she does. And let me ask you this, Giannis. We're about to move now away from Hawaii, this beautiful island that you call home. You still have family members there that still live there, right?
Yes.
Do you communicate with them often? And what is their lifestyle now in Hawaii? I mean, with this epidemic, the pandemic that's going on, how's that affected them there?
Yeah, it's really closed down. Like, they have a really tight community when it's time to get together. But sometimes we don't always act in appropriate ways when we're fearful and things like that. So I feel like it could be a little stressful, with everything locked down and then travel in and out because Hawaii does get a lot of their money from tourism. But right now there's no travel in and out. And so it's just really stressful. And then sometimes when you live on a certain island, to go to a really good doctor, you have to get on a plane to go to another island. So all of those things just make life really difficult. But as far as like drugs and things like that, like, it just got so much worse. Like, I think maybe I told you about my niece who is about 15 years old. I almost had to fly to Hawaii a couple weeks ago because of some drug use. And then I have 2 of my nephews living here, one of them just to get out of the lifestyle and a change of scenery. So The thing in Hawaii now, I feel like a lot of us, our generation, encourage growth and encourage moving away from home, even though it's scary. Like, home is going to be there, our family is always going to be there, but come see the rest of the world. And I feel like I learned so much and I grew so much from traveling, even though I never left the island until I was about 25. My sister's 40 years old and has never left the island. So,
Wow.
yeah.
Well, that could be, you know, we talk about the trauma, we talk about all these traumatic experiences, but exposure is something that can help you get out of that trauma. You know,
Right.
seeing going to somewhere else and understanding, wow, what I saw on TV is not actually what I see when I get there. You know,
Oh, that's the truth.
TV could portray Hawaii as being something else. It could portray the states as being something else. But when you actually get there and meet about the people, and see the culture that you're living amongst, it can change your whole perspective. You're like, wow, I'm blown away. Because I didn't
Right.
know it was really like this. I was seeing something, but that's what the propaganda wants you to think. They want you to think that certain people think this way, act this way, and live this way. And when you get amongst them, you're like, that's not what I really was taught. You know, so that's something that we got to understand. Exposure, exposing them, you know, people at a very young age, for children and as far as adults. They say your sister has never left the island, so she has no clue what the states look like.
Mhm. Yeah, and I must say, like, the first time I ever laughed, it was like a 5-hour plane ride, and I was just crying the whole time. I thought, like, I just kept thinking about gangs. Like, Dennis, you know how many tattoos I have, but I'm like far from a gang member. But I just thought, like, I was gonna be perceived that way, and I thought we couldn't wear red and we couldn't wear blue, and like, I was just so scared of what I was getting into coming to the States. So it was definitely not what I expected. Of course, there's the gangs in areas where maybe you can't wear red and blue, but I just thought it would just always be like that everywhere.
Yeah, and think we're gonna go into this right now since you mentioned the tattoos. Is that a form of way you learn to express yourself? Because like I said, there's so many layers to you that we just probably might not even get to on here. But if you can explain to you how you express yourself now, because you got, like I said, so many different layers. I'm sure once Josephine hears about the different layers where you are, she's gonna fall in love with you.
Yeah, I definitely use my tattoos as a form of self-expression, as a form of healing, as a form of therapy. And sometimes I can't really explain why, but when something serious happens in my life, a death of a family member or something traumatic, like, I don't know, getting a tattoo just helps me kind of deal with that situation and then carry the battle scars in a way moving forward.
Do you think that's something that you inherit from the culture?
Well, when I was about 13 years old, at the minute I started living out on the street, I went and got a whole bunch of tattoos all over my body. 'Cause I was this tiny little innocent 13-year-old, and I thought I had to look the part of the street. So I ended up getting a whole bunch of tattoos. So the tattoos that you see today are just cover-ups of those tattoos over the years. So I have like cover up over cover up over cover up. But but I would say that tattoos are sort of island tradition.
Yeah. So you mentioned you left when you turned 25. Where did you go from there?
I came here to Arizona. I met this amazing, amazing man, and he loved me and all my crazy brokenness. And he was like, let's go to Arizona. And I was like, no. And I already had 3 kids when I met him. And he was like, let's go to Arizona. And I was like, well, you go find a place and then maybe we'll come. And he was like, no, I'm not going without you and your kids. And we only been together a year. So I was like, oh my God, he loves me and my kids. Like, I better not let him go. So I followed him here to Arizona. It was really, really scary, but I'm definitely grateful I did.
So was that a culture shock for you to come here?
Oh, it was crazy culture shock. We have one Walmart on the Big Island.
Wow.
You come here and there's like one on every block.
So
It's so big.
I remember one time you told me that you lived. I think I heard you live in Alaska.
Yes, I kind of move all around. Ever since I started moving, I just kind of got this little itch where I just want to go everywhere and see everything. And my husband has some family in Alaska, so we were up there for like 3 years.
So what was it
I
like to
love
leave,
Alaska.
to leave paradise where it's nice and warm to go to Alaska where it's cold every day?
Well, Hawaii's sticky. Alaska, you have that. I mean, like even Arizona, you have like that dry heat, and then Alaska's like the total opposite extreme. Hawaii can be pretty tortured too with that humidity.
Yeah, I can understand that. I just couldn't understand living in Alaska. I couldn't live there. It's too cold. Just thinking about Alaska right now, I'm about to go get my jacket. I, I
I
wouldn't
just
do it.
got cold there too for some reason.
Yeah, I couldn't do it. Think about I'm getting chills right now. Let's get off this subject of Alaska because I'm getting frostbite.
Oh, stop it. So tell us about your spiritual. First of all, you said you're Puerto Rican, so I'm wondering like how did her being Puerto Rican, how did you migrate from Puerto Rico to Hawaii or
Right.
how did
My
that happen?
grandfather actually was in some war, and when the war
Okay.
was over, he ended up in Hawaii. So my family were pure Puerto Rican. We're growing up almost 4 generations now on the island since my grandfather.
Oh, okay. So that's how you ended up there.
Yeah.
You mentioned earlier too about it's not about skin color because most Hawaiians are darker complected, and so it's more about classism there than it actually is about color. So I can
Right.
kind of understand that, and about the tattoos, it's tribal. I love those tribal tattoos. They are so beautiful to me. And I was thinking, I was telling my kids that I was going to get some tattoos, and they think that I'm going through a midlife crisis, but I am not. I'm turning 60 in a couple of weeks, so I like you. I was thinking about getting some tattoos that are meaningful to me, not just to be getting them, just on a fad or anything, but because to me, turning 60 is I'm going into a different season in my life, and they're going to be meaningful. But I want you to I think Dennis mentioned earlier something about your spiritual side, or so you want to share something about that side of you as it relates to your culture,
Yeah,
or
well, I could share like my journey coming here. So when I came here in my early 20s, my husband, he's my husband now, but he asked me to marry him right soon after we got here to Arizona. And I was thinking like, why does this guy want to marry me? Like I'm all kinds of crazy. I'm a hothead. I'm controlling. I'm negative. Like, why would he want to marry me? Like, but he did, and he's such an amazing man. So it just dawned on me like, how am I gonna take care of him? How am I gonna learn to love this guy? That was like when I realized, I guess, that I didn't really know how to love people. I thought like control and all those things was me loving and taking care of my family, but I was ruling over my household in more like of a bullying way. And it wasn't until my husband came and showed me all this love that I was like, man, he asked me to marry him. And I was like, just taken back by the fact that he wanted to marry me and what I thought was all of my ugliness. So I thought, how am I going to learn how to love this guy? So when I was about 15 years old, I was in a foster home and they forced us to go to this church camp. And I was so mad at the time. But I remember sitting there and just thinking how everyone was just around the campfire singing songs and worshiping, and everyone's love for God. Like at that time when I was like 15, I was like, man, that's pretty interesting. But I grew up my whole life mad at him, cussing him out. So at that moment in my 20s, when I was like, how am I going to learn to love this man? My thought went back to that camp and how much everybody loved this God. And I was like, let me go find a church. Like, so I've been to church one time when I was 15 years old. And then after that, I just thought, I got to figure out how to love my husband. And I thought maybe God could teach me how to do that. So I went and I found a church. I stepped foot in a church. And for 10 years, I formed this relationship with God, and that relationship with God drastically changed my heart, and so I could never be the same person. So
So
that was the start of it. Yeah.
yeah, for me it's similar because like I said, I grew up without a father. I had my grandfather who was my physical support, but when my mom started taking me to church, I learned about my heavenly Father, and that was they would get that connection with him to help me understand who I am internally. And so that was a changing point and turning point in my life as well. So did you find that connection? Because you said you never had a mother and a father in your life. So did that help you fill that void?
Yeah, I think it did because I think my relationship changed with God when I realized I was his daughter, and like he looked at me like like how I look at my kids, like when they're wrong, it doesn't matter. Our hearts don't change. We might be mad at them. We might want to just strangle them, but our love never changes. So it helped me to sort of start loving myself, and in turn I could love everybody else, but knowing that I had someone that wasn't going to give up on me, that was fighting for me even when I couldn't fight for myself, that was always there even when I was trying to push him away, he was just patiently there. Like I've definitely had my father there.
Right. And so, and even with those things, there's a lot of words you said there that God showed this man love, that he was able to give you that unconditional love and then help you open your eyes and see what love was about. Like you said, you try to push him away, you try to figure out what was this guy's attachment, but he saw the inner beauty in you, regardless of all you said, the mess that you was going through, and decided, I want to make sure that this lady has a great life, that she sees the beauty in her that I see in her.
Right.
I remember last night we worked together, so I'm not even gonna go into too much about all that. But you was telling me that you have some issues, and that you also listen to my podcast and get some some liberation out of that. That you get some joy out of those things that you hear on the podcast. So I mean, does those things tie into that? Have your bonding with your husband and your family? How does that help you out?
Yeah, we stay very connected. Like I said, I think how I grew up, I was so mad at my childhood and everything until I started having kids. And I thought I could use my childhood to protect my family. I could make sure my kids never had a drug addict for a mom. I could make sure that I was really present. All those things that my parents did, I was like, okay, like I'm not gonna do that. So I feel like they definitely influenced me still, my parents, as the type of parent that I did not want to be. So today we are very connected. We spend a lot of time together. When the kids are growing up, we do daily devotionals together. My husband and I pray together. We meditate together. We, like if we're having problems, like with anything, like just intimacy in our marriage or treating each other badly, like we're looking up videos on YouTube or on a podcast of what can we listen to and what kind of encouraging words can we bring, what can we learn from this. So we're definitely always reaching out. I always felt like that was one of my best qualities, was being able to reach out for help when necessary. But we're very connected like that, this family, and when things are falling apart, we're very good on like trying to see what we can do to bring back that togetherness, whether it's me and my husband in a relationship or just us with the kids.
Yeah, and I asked you that because I want you to use those words to encourage that mother and that husband or that family unit to understand that you need that connection, you need that bond. And like I said, but you have to have that willingness to do that. And so
Yes.
you and your husband are reaching back to find resources. You're not saying, look, you mad at me, so what? I ain't gonna talk to you today. Like Josephine always advocates for the gatekeepers. And the gatekeepers that she'll explain a little more is when that man or that woman have a disconnect, there's oftentimes there's bitterness in the air. And the child hears and sees it. And then if they separate, there's still that bitterness. There's no good man. He ain't this and that. And that causes so much dysfunction in the household that there's no sense of coming back to a bond like you're talking about right now. Because that man or that lady has put so much negativity in that child's mind and that life that now it's. We had a young lady that we came on, and Shay came on to talk about that poem that she wrote about how that impacted her life because her mother would not allow her to be around her father or allow her father to be in her life. And so I commend you and your husband for finding ways to bring that connection back when you feel as though there's a loss. And that's because of that spiritual nature that he feels shows you that agape love, that unconditional love.
Yeah, we've definitely been together 18 years now, and we definitely are well aware of the fact that it is the good Lord that holds us together. Cord of three strands cannot be broken.
That's awesome.
That's it.
Awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Josephine sitting down there, and I know she just boiling with questions because I see her mind just spinning. I see them locks.
I'm just amazed at the work. I'm just amazed at the I don't know, the glow that's coming off of you is just it just has me awestruck in how you share. I'm sorry, I live by a train track, so that's all that noise. Um, the joy that you speak of, how you speak so. Um, I want the main thing if nobody, no other sis. I mean, if none of the sisters don't take away what you're saying, I want them to hear that, like women are always saying they're looking for a mate. They're looking for a mate. They're looking for a mate. But I want them to pay attention to what you're saying in your broken state, that there was a man for you, a tailor-made man. See, that's why I ain't saying nothing, because I'm smiling here and I'm saying, yes, God sent a perfect example to what I've been preaching and teaching for years, that there is somebody for everybody if we would just put our long list down and just sit back and relax. Because you said that you was this and you was that, and you said, well, God, why would somebody want to blah 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 blah? And here this man, your rib cage, found you, accepted you in all your brokenness. Now, I want to make this perfectly clear that, see, he loved you as you were. And he allowed the Holy Spirit to complete that work that he started within you.
Right.
He didn't try to fix you. You understand? So he loved you, your imperfect self, perfectly. So I want the women to take away, if they don't hear nothing else you say, to take away that message that there's a man for them. And also, you say that you guys study together, that when you guys have problems, you do this together, you do that together. The point is, how can two walk together unless they have the same vision? Amos 3:3, that a threefold cord cannot be easily broken. That means that God is the head of your relationship, and you two guys are at the bottom, like you guys are a triangle. God at the top, and you two are at the bottom. So this is what I want. That's why I ain't saying nothing, cause you guys, you blessing my socks off to see that out of tragedy or trauma has come triumph, and you've been together 18 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty much why I wanted to say out of paradise, trauma out of paradise,
Yeah.
there comes peace in the desert. I mean, just from hearing her story, this is the first time that I actually learned this much about this young lady.
Be quiet. This ain't through talking now. You wanted me to talk now. I'm talking. Hush, hush, hush. So see, out of paradise, where is all kind of beauty, but it was just a bunch of dressed up mess, and you came to a dry desert. And here goes a scripture that the Lord gave me. See, I love palm trees. I love palm trees. And I was going through my trauma, and the Lord gave me Psalms 92:12. He said, the righteous shall flourish like a palm tree, and he shall be like a cedar of Lebanon. So, a palm tree can flourish in any kind of terrain. So you were that palm tree that was flourishing in paradise, and you came on over to Arizona, and you started flourishing still, but you was like that cedar of Lebanon. And Lebanon is considered like something traditionally like wealth. So God has given you your wealth in your husband. So you're flourishing now. and he has brought you out of the pit to the palace. You understand? And you can be an example to other women that and your children, how you say you bring your nephews and whatever. You are the Joseph of your family. You see what I'm saying? He kept you to bring your family out of Lodabar. You understand what I'm saying? So this is why I'm just sitting here smiling, because you have such a testimony of 13 in the street, and you survived, and you ain't crazy. You are beautiful.
Yeah, kind of
And
crazy.
well, crazy a good crazy, because I'm a good crazy too. So, but you know what I'm saying? You still got your right mind. You still got a smile on your face. You can still give the Lord praise out of the midst. You're not bitter. You're not angry. And see, that's what I'm talking about. So you can still say to a sister or a brother or kids, you got a ministry in you. So that's why I'm so glad that Dennis had the opportunity to meet you and bring you on, and women can hear that it's okay, that if you got lost your childhood, God is a restorer of the breach. He can make the crooked places straight. He can give you a husband, one that loves you, when you're broken, one that can love. I say that I'm a beautiful mosaic, because I'm a crackpot, but through my crackpot, the light shines, and you're that same way. So I'm just so excited to hear your testimony. And don't stop sharing your story. Don't stop telling them what God did and what he's continually to do through you and your husband. Because guess what? I don't know if you know it or not, you and your husband have a ministry.
Well, see, that's one reason why I recruited her in so many ways. She didn't know that yet, but I'm trying to recruit her to when we go on tour, that she could be on that tour with us. Because, like I said, there's another layer to her that I'm going to let her talk about now, that spiritual nature. But if you can, before you get to that spiritual side of you and what you're doing right now on the holistic side, can you just now tell me that dynamic man's name? Because he needs right now to get that applause for, being that dynamic man.
What's his name?
His name is Jesse.
What's his name?
Jesse.
Jesse?
Yeah.
He is the
Okay.
epitome of the dynamic dad that I go around the world talking about. That man who knows unconditional love, and it says, regardless of what I'm going through and what you're going through, you deserve love, and God has given me love to show it to you. That's what we talk about, the Christ. Greater is he that's in me than he that's in the world. That's a true example of what Christ has talked about. Don't worry about what you see in the world. Look at me and how my actions. Love is an action word. So a lot of people say about they love this and love that, but love is action. And you have to, so that means I have to engage myself within something inside of you or you to show that I have love inside of me. It just don't come out because I say it. I have to use it by example. I have to bring it out of me. And so that's what this young man did with you. And now you have a beautiful family that you give next testimony to go around the world with. Help others change their life and see that they have a hope, that they can find love. We had ladies come on one time before and said they're searching for real love. They never saw real love. And I'm sure that one time in your life you said the same thing. I don't know what love looks like until this man showed it to you. Not only did he show it to you, you went back and said, I knew what love was before, and now I want to incorporate it in my life so that my marriage can be love. So I can have a marriage I never saw before. I never saw a family structure, but you're doing just what you never saw. You're doing that. You're living an example. So I want to commend you for that. But if you can, tell us about the holistic side of you now. The Dion that we see now in front of us, what does that consist of? Who are you now?
Well, I think it kind of started 9 years ago. My brother, who was also my best friend, committed suicide. And when he committed suicide, I ended up on all kinds of pills to try to sleep, to try to deal with my anxiety and PTSD. And I mean, it was a long journey. But because in my mind, I feel like I was born an addict, it's just in my DNA. All of my family are addicts, whether it's pills or alcohol or drugs. Like addiction is something that just runs in my family. So while I was on all of this medication, I always had that fear that like, man, I'm gonna look like my aunt over there, like falling asleep on all these pills, or I'm gonna be at, like my other aunt at her funeral because she overdosed on pills. Like, I was just really scared of what I was seeing going on around me, and that's what made me reach out to a school that I started here in Arizona, and it was first to use essential oils to help with things like anxiety and PTSD. So that was what the first things that I started doing, and man, I have to say, like today makes almost 4 years since I had anything to sleep or to calm my anxiety or anything like that. So through this school here in Tempe, I learned how to use essential oils, and I learned a little bit about meditation and self-care and things like that, which I'm using today. Even eating, like my first class was a holistic nutrition class, so I started understanding how the things we eat affect our mood and things like that. So that is my brother's death is what got me on all this medication, and just trying to find a way out of it is what led me on this holistic path where I'm using food and essential oils and just life in general to help me with my anxiety and things like that.
Oh, I see our connection now. Because at one point, see, look at Dennis smiling there. At one point, I was on over 30 medications. I was over medicated, and I've been praying. I was praying to God. I said, God, this is not my portion. And over the past few years, I too have gotten off of the medication. Right now, I may be on maybe 5 or 6 medications, down from 30. And I've been doing essential oils and herbs and vitamins, because I kept hearing them say, physician, heal thyself. And I said, okay, okay. So I've been doing my research and using different oils, because you name it. I praise the Lord that uh, uh, I I have not overdosed, because you name it. I was on an Oxycontin, Percocet, Vicodin, you name it. I've taken it, and um, I did not become addicted to it, and I guess my body has a high tolerance. I don't know, but um, right now I don't take any narcotics for my pain. I've been using essential oils and cannabis, the cannabis oils to help me deal with my anxiety. Just last year, I was diagnosed with PTSD and anxiety and all this other stuff. So depression. So I've been dealing with my things holistically, and that's another area that where with especially within the African American community, we need to deal with our mental health issues, and that's trauma that's not addressed, and it's trauma that if we were to address that trauma within the Black and brown community, I think that crime would greatly decrease, because it's not what people are doing, it's why they're doing it. It's associated with food deserts, our diet, the lead in the schools. I'm talking about here in Chicago. It's so many levels to this, and I think if we were to take more holistic measures and deal with our people, that a lot of issues would be eradicated. So I'm glad to hear that we have that holistic uh, connection with what we're doing, and so keep doing what you're doing.
Thank you.
If I want to ask you a couple more questions, and I'm not going to take up too much of your time. I heard you last night. You were going to, you were talking about how the class has set you up on this the different cycles to understanding certain things. Can you explain that again to me today about to that topic you were talking about? You were talking to
Yeah, think you might be talking about like this mind engineering. I don't know, that I went through. It's like a mind engineering course. So I worked with a spiritual coach, and it's like a 9-week program. And so the first 3 weeks, it was about discovering what exactly my negative thoughts, actions, reactions are, and where they're coming from. So we did that for 3 weeks. And then the next 3 weeks is about what am I going to replace those negative thoughts, actions, and reactions with. And so we learn different things, like using essential oils and meditation. And I learned this different like tapping technique that can just shift my mood when I'm not feeling good. And like I'm equipped with a whole bunch of tools on what I can change those negative thoughts into. And then, so once you can, so it's about discovering what those negative thoughts are, replacing them with things that serve you, and then creating the life that you desire. Now that you're, you're finally, I want to say, like, free. There was some kind of freedom from my negative thinking that I received. Yeah, I always had a thing about being defensive and feeling like I had to defend myself and defend my family, And then when I discovered that it was just something from childhood, like that I could never defend myself as a child. So today I'm just overly defensive because of that. So today when I get defensive and I remember like, oh wait, this is something that's coming up from childhood. Let me take a few deep breaths, and ensure that I am not reacting to something in a way that doesn't serve me for this life over here that I'm trying to create.
Hold on, let me see. Okay. Yes, that's definitely something that we have to understand. We have triggers. Everybody has a trigger. I don't get if
Right.
it's good or a bad thing. You can be walking down the street, hear a song, you're like, oh, and the next thing you know, start dancing. Take you back a couple of years, or you might have a smell like, oh my goodness, and it could take you back to a moment that you don't want to visit again. So there's all kinds of things that can trigger a past reaction or a past emotion or just a past experience, and we have to be mindful of that. And so, like you said, the things you know how to cope with, and you have coping mechanism now to help you to deal with that, so it won't cause you to go into anxiety and go to a downward spiral. But yet now you got things that's going to keep you going on a positive mindset to deal with them. And I think that's very important because a lot of people don't deal with the trauma like that. They don't look at they don't recognize the trauma. But now that you recognize the trauma, you have resources to help you. That's
Right.
very important. That's very important. Like I said, I don't want to take up too much of your time. I'm thankful that you came on my.
Right. Yeah. Your mind.
Yeah, go ahead.
I know. I'm so excited. I'm so grateful. Finally.
If there's one, what would you say to a family like yourself? Like you said, you have 5 kids, a husband, and you're still bringing a family into your life. So what would you tell a family that's going through these changes, this pandemic? What advice would you like to give them?
Oh man, the first thing that comes to mind is praying. Like prayer, prayer, prayer. No matter what I went through, if I'm struggling with my kids, I'm sitting over there praying for them. If I'm struggling with my husband, like I'm sitting there praying for him, together with him. But sometimes he's just sleeping and like still stressing me out. But I'm just like taking it to the Lord and like praying over him. My mental state sometimes it just gets too much, like not having nowhere to go and being locked in the house. But prayer, like knowing God is on your side, knowing that, like, I guess it's like your perspective. How do you look at it? Like, God got me. I'm going to be fine. I'm just take this one day at a time. Like, we try to plan out, of course, the future, but at the same time, just living more in this moment right here, being grateful for the things that we do have, and then trusting God in all the things that we are out of our control.
Yeah, definitely. That's some great advice because a lot of families right now are struggling. This pandemic has changed a lot of people's lives unexpectedly. Some people are not used to being in the house as much with their family like they are right now, and so that's a lot of trauma right there because they're spending more time than they ever did with their families, and that's something you said it shouldn't be, but it's now it's happening.
Right. I feel like my greatest strength here in this relationship, and I encourage other wives, moms, is prayer. Cover your family in prayer, cover yourself in prayer, cover your life in prayer.
Yeah, that's some great advice to give. Josephine, you got anything to add to that before we close out?
There's nothing I can add or take away. Thank you so much, Dion, for coming on. It's a pleasure meeting you, and I'm looking forward to working with you in the future. God bless you.
And
Thank
Dion, you have a
you.
platform on Dynamic Dads and Medics and Moms. I know you have some future plans, but like I tell everybody, either you're going that way, we're families. So if you can come in and contribute any way to help heal and restore the family structure, you have a platform here on Dynamic Dads and Magnificent Moms. So I do welcome you to come back at any time as we go on our journey nationwide, international, because we're going to need somebody to help us navigate when we get over here in Hawaii. So we're going to rely on you for that.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
All right. So you have a great day. Look forward to talking to you
So
soon.
nice talking to you guys.
Thank you.
Have a wonderful evening. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
JoJo, we entered another day with two awesome meetings today. Awesome podcasts talking about the family from different perspectives of life. One with a young man who has 5 kids and how he's a super family, and from a young lady who's come from paradise to the desert, from trouble in the paradise to peace in the desert. That's like the phoenix. That's almost like the phoenix rising. That's the symbol of phoenix. The phoenix rising out of the ashes.
And that's my favorite slogan. The Phoenix. That's my bird. That's Raymond Phoenix is my email.
So
I'm gonna get that tattoo.
you just met one of the phoenixes today, right there, that young lady.
Right there, right there, right there. So y'all, that's goes when y'all see me, y'all gonna see that tattoo soon. So they'll be saying, JoJo, you going through a crisis? I'm gonna have that tattoo. Phoenix.
Hey, this is Dynamic Dad, positive attitude, full of energy and new ideas. And I want to remind you that if you're out there and you want to help us in any kind of way, go to my webpage, dynamicdad.org, www.dynamicdad.org. Sign up, hit the register button. Go in and hit the comments, leave a comment. I like JoJo's hair. I like that lion behind her. I like that guy Dennis talks too loud. Whatever it may be.
Just whatever. And my webpage will be up soon. And I have the Magnificent Moms Facebook page. Ladies, join us. We be
Yeah, go ahead.
we're doing we're connecting in there. It's a fabulous group of women in Magnificent Moms on Facebook. So pretty soon my web page will be up. It's beautiful by my brother Kareem. I'm proud of him, and just be looking for Dennis and I somewhere near you. And if you want us to speak at your church or somewhere, we were in New York this past Father's Day weekend, and not physically, but via Zoom. But we did a beautiful program. So just hit us up. So God is providing us with some wonderful speakers. Trauma in the house. God is not letting us get up off this topic. So we're going to ride it till we can't ride it anymore.
Heels fall off. Yeah, you heard that lady right there, how she was healed. And we hope a lot of other people, women that heard this and found this will restored and given hope that they can find love. You ladies have to look, they just say you're searching for real love first. Be acceptable to that man that's coming into your life. This woman could easily said, I'm not going to do it. I don't love myself. How can you love me? But she allowed her heart to be open to this man to show her love, and in tune showed her how to love her family and herself. But her one thing she did say is, I want to learn how to love this man as my husband.
Yes, ladies. I hope you listened to what she said.
That was powerful.
She had some nuggets. I want you guys to know that there is love for you. First of all, y'all gonna have to put down that list that's yay long. Put it down.
We're gonna get
y'all miss a lot of y'all husbands because you got the long list. I ain't saying listen. I'm not saying that you got to lower your standards. That's not what I'm saying at all. But there is a mate for you if you make yourself available. Bishop Jakes taught us when I was taking my God's Leading Ladies training that if you want to become a wife, you have to make yourself available. Some of y'all are not doing that. And you know what you're doing. So listen, we provide a perfect example today.
Yeah, I don't think it's about you make yourself available. It's about freeing up your mind, getting that.
Well, that's what I'm saying. You got to make your mind available.
Yeah, renew that mind so that you can allow love to come in. You know what I'm
That's
saying?
what I mean, Dennis. Listen, if you don't make your mind available, you're not going to be receptive to anyone that approaches you. Your mind got to be renewed first. So that's the first step. Renew your mind.
We need that mind to be renewed in so many different ways. The men, we need you to renew your mind, reach back and be active in your child's life. If you are a dynamic dad, I need you to continue to encourage that young man that's coming up who's a new parent. He may not have a father. So reach back and say, yo, brother, I see you doing something over there. You're not doing it wrong, but I can give you some better advice to do it better. Don't put him down in what he's doing, because we all make mistakes. If he don't know, he gonna go that route. He gonna do whatever he can to do. But instead of putting him down, say, yo, brother, stop doing that. This and that. This. Encourage him first.
Yes, it's not what you say, it's how you say it.
Right. Encourage him first. Give him that support. And once that brother trusts you, he will start asking you questions about how he sees you living your life. And so that's what we're here to do. Elevate, empower, and to encourage all men and all women to be dynamic and magnificent moms. So once again, this is another episode of Dynamic Dad and Magnificent Moms coming to you from Facebook Live. We're on YouTube. We're on IG. Please look us up. I'm on Instagram. I'm also looking at my Spotify, Anchor. We have a lot of content out there, and we have a lot more things coming up as we partner with many other organizations to get our point out, to get their point out, to support each other. So if you're out there and you want to be a partner with Dynamic Dads and Magnificent Moms, reach out to us. IG, YouTube, Facebook, my Spotify, Anchor, wherever we're at, reach out to me. My website, dynamicdad.org. Let us know what we can do. How can we help you? That's what we want to know. How can Dynamic Dad help you? So I'm not going to talk any much longer. This is Dynamic Dad, Magnificent Moms, and we just thank you for showing up, for listening to us, and supporting us any way that you possibly can. Donations, comments, whatever. We love it. We thank you for it. Have a great day, people. Dynamic Dad, Magnificent Moms. We're out.
Peace and chicken grease. Love you guys.
What? Chicken grease? Get out of here with that Alabama slang. Bye.
That's all right.